Shall we get started by lighting the candle? Good evening, Dhamma friends. Before we get started, let's pay homage to Buddha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu Sammā sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu Sammā sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu Sammā sambuddhassa. After discussing about Sammā Ājiva, which means right living, we are heading to Sammā Vāyāma. Sammā Vāyāma, the sixth one, the sixth path factor. Now, Sammā Vāyāma could be the most, I would say, misunderstood path factor across the Noble Eightfold Path, because it is the only place where we discuss energy, effort. Because you see, the popular understanding of Viriya, I would say energy, could be mostly a miscommunicated, misunderstood version, especially the West. Because the notion that if you want to, I would say, do well in a job, in anything, you need a sort of hard-working mentality. That is the Western version of energy. So when they see this, this could be one of the similar factors that they might think about energy. But hard-working energy or extraordinary kind of energy is not what this Vāyāma means by. It is something different. First off, I wanted to say that Vāyāma, called Sammā Vāyāmo, it is different from mere energy, hard-working energy, or extraordinary working energy. It is different. With being said that, we wanted to go back to our sutta, because I haven't shown you the place where we are learning at the moment. Now this is at the Sammā Vāyāma. The reason why we study differently from Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta is that Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta is inadequate to understand Sammā Vāyāma's fuller meaning. So we learn Sammā Vāyāma or any other path factors across the other suttas, nikayas. I would say Satcha Vibhanga Sutta is one of the very detailed explanation of the Noble Eightfold Path. And then the Mahachattārisaka Sutta is another one. Then Chula Vedala Sutta of the Majjhima Nikaya is one very fine description about the context of the Noble Eightfold Path. And there are so many other simple versions of the Noble Eightfold Path. But those are the main 3 suttas where we used to understand each noble path factor. But today we have come down to Sammā Vāyāma. Now Sammā Vāyāma is very important because this is the place where you are tapping into the samadhi practice. So because at the beginning you know Sammā Diṭṭhi, Sammā Saṅkappa, they are part of the Paññā practice. But they are not the fuller version of the Paññā. They are kind of a, I would say, launch pad, the launch pad into the Paññā. The fuller Paññā will be arisen when you fulfill the whole path. Because I emphasize that even if you want to practice Sila, you should know why do you practice Sila, right? It is not that somebody practices Sila without understanding why I practice Sila. I always take the example of a 3 months old infant, where that infant naturally abstains from killing, stealing, misbehaving, lying, and taking intoxicants. Just because the 3 months old infant does not break any of these 5, does that make him qualify or her qualify as a virtuous person? He or she is not, because she does not do such because they are too small enough, little enough, not young enough to understand what they are doing. So there should be an intentional avoidance when you practice Sila. Where does it come from? Sammā Diṭṭhi, Sammā Saṅkappa. And then Sila practice, Sammā Vācā, Sammā Kammanta, Sammā Ājīva. Now Sila practice is getting very good, intensified, full, complete, and then you are tapping into the Samadhi practice. But you can't go to the Samadhi practice right away. You have to have sort of rouse some energy, rouse some effort. We call it Sammā Vāyāma, Sati Samadhi. Right? This is how it works. As you can see in the Noble Eightfold Path poster which I made, you can see that Sammā Vāyāma represents the 6th noble factor. More importantly, Sammā Vāyāma is one of the very important supportives in the path. That means Sammā Vāyāma affects all the other path factors. It is not just Sammā Vāyāma being the 6th noble path factor. It affects all the other noble path factors. Example, let's say I wanted to practice Sammā Vācā, noble speech. At that point, I should understand what is noble, what is good speech, what is bad speech. Sammā Diṭṭhi helps me to understand that. Then, just because I know it, if I don't put effort onto that understanding, then I won't be able to do it. That means I need effort at all times. But just because I have Virya, or the bigger practice is Vāyāma, I won't be able to practice or continue if I do not catch the right moment of that practice. So Sammā Sati helps me to catch that particular place, understand that particular place. This is where I have to put Sammā Vāyāma. This is where I understand Sammā Vāyāma. Or this is where I understand Sila or whatever the things. That is how it is interconnected and then supportive for all the practices. We are here now, right effort. Okay, and then you can see right effort. It helps all the other factors. Not even this. If you remember Bodhipakkhya Dhammas, 37 supportive Dhamma factors for enlightenment, awakening. There are 37. All these 37 Dhamma factors, we call them Bodhipakkhya. Some people have a misunderstanding. Some people think Bodhipakkhya means this is the Arahants or Pacceka Buddhas or Sammā Sambuddhas package only. No, this is the practice that leads us to become enlightened one day. This is very important today because each of the practices in the Bodhipakkhya Dhamma factors, they have this virya part. The first is four mindfulness: kaya anupassana, vedana anupassana, chitta anupassana, dhamma anupassana. Each has this statement, this phrase: Atapi sampajano satima vinaya loke abhicca domanassa. If you can remember, Satipatthana Sutta. Atapi sampajano, ardent sampajano, which means fully aware. Satima, mindful. Vinaya loke abhicca, having destroyed abhicca domanassa, sorrow, covetousness and grief about the world. World means internal world is, internal world means our this panchakanda world, not the universe, right? So there is ardent. Ardent means another version of the virya, particularly to the satipatthanas. And then we come down to 4 sammapadhanas. This is another word for the virya in that practice, bodhipakkhya dhamma practice. I haven't actually added here in my notes. I just want you to search those things. Actually, those 4 sammapadhanas are nothing but the right effort, which means prevention of the, I would say, inactive akusala states. Then removal of the active akusala states. Then developing, I would say, developing the non-active, I would say inactive kusala states. Then preserving, maintaining, deepening the active kusala states. Kusala states means kusala kamma, kusala dhamma, right? So these 4 are the same sammapadhanas. There is, you can see, right effort. Third one is 4 iddhipadas, psychic powers. Chanda, chitta, virya, yes, virya, energy. Then panchabala, and then yes, panchabala and panchi indriya. Saddha, virya, samadhi, sati, samadhi, panya. They work both ways. They can be taken as powers, spiritual powers, and they can be taken as spiritual faculties. So virya is there too. What else? 7 bojjhangas. What are they? Sati, dhamma, vichaya, virya, piti, passaddhi, samadhi, upekka. Virya is there. Finally, noble eightfold path. There is right. That means energy, effort, this whole practice play a very dominant role in your enlightenment practice, enlightenment spiritual journey. So we have to properly understand what it is from the dispelling, I would say, confused notions about the energy. Let's start from here. I told you in the West there is a misunderstanding about the right effort, because they talk about energy in terms of work life, family life. If you're not a hardworking man, you are not making a family. So they bring this energy, like hardworking mentality. But right effort is not that kind of a virya. It is, I would say, in a way, an effortless effort, because you are practicing energy just to the extent of removing, diminishing your akusala states, and just to the extent of improving, creating kusala states. All night long, all day long. Nothing more than that. But if somebody is more energetic one day, they might sometimes do some unnecessary things too, right? Like full moon days, different days of the moon, people get more energy. You notice that? On different phases of the moon, new moon, full moon, other types of phases of the moon, people get more energy, especially the mentally sick people. Not even them, the ocean get high tides. The police is improving more patrolling. Sometimes, if you get to know a cop, which means because of the, I would say, differences of the moon, the moon affects our mentality, energy flow, right? So what we need to understand here is that Sammā Vāyāma is not that kind of a high energy. It is kind of a energy that you are creating just to the extent of removing, preventing, creating and then developing your kusala states. Akusala for the first two. Then we have to separate out two things first. What is Viriya? What is Vāyāma? How do we separate out these two terms? Now Viriya, we're going to be looking at Viriya differently, but fundamentally what is Viriya? How do we understand the difference between Viriya and Vāyāma? Are they same or are they different? Are they carrying different thoughts? How many of you come across these two terms in your reading? Viriya and Vāyāma. Viriya is energy. Vāyāma is the whole practice, the whole activity of creating Viriya for removing, preventing akusala states of mind, and then creating and developing, deepening kusala states of the mind. Whole process. But if you separate out this, I would say disintegrate the whole practice of Sammā Vāyāma, you will see Viriya is a part of that. There are a bunch of other words. Ārambha dhātu, that means what you call energy to start something, your practice. Ārambha dhātu. Nikkhama dhātu, energy to fulfill that particular activity. Let's say you want to meditate today. So if you don't have ārambha dhātu, you can't start it. Right? You know that it is good, but you can't start it off. Nikkhama means you are able to completely finish it as you expect. Then thāma, titi, upakkama, strategizing, your physical strength, stamina. There are a lot of other words that Buddha used to understand energy. So all these are falling into the Sammā Vāyāma practice, right effort. Now let's see how Sammā Vāyāma has been given in the suttas. Now don't worry about the Pali words because I will be explaining to you. And don't think that you need to memorize all these ones. Just take whatever the important ones, because there are translations in the way that could be easily understood. And here I have given them in a very easy framework too, these four. There are four things that you need to understand in terms of Sammā Vāyāma. As I told you, the first thing is, what you can see is, generate desire to, anuppannānaṁ pāpakānaṁ, which means prevention, right? So you're going to actually face, you're going to do something, you're going to understand troubles before it becomes a trouble, right? That is a good thing, prevention. Prevention is always good in Buddhism. But unfortunately, if the akusalas already arisen, then there are different things you have to do in terms of Sammā Vāyāma. Now, fortunately, let's say akusalas have not yet started. They are inactive at the moment. Let's say you are not that kind of a person who has lots of anger. So you are good. You are on the safe side. So that has not been arisen. So you have to do a lot of things to keep that state of mind going on, right? Anuppannānaṁ pāpakānaṁ akusalānaṁ dhammānaṁ anuppādāya. Let's see these couple of words. Anuppannānaṁ means unarisen or inactive. Pāpakānaṁ akusalānaṁ pāpakānaṁ means akusala states of the mind. Anuppādāya. In order for not creating the arising of those akusala states. Then what you're going to do is couple of things. Chandang janiti, vāyamati, viryang ārabhati, chittam pagganhati, padhati. We have to understand these Pali verbs differently. Now we know prevention. This is prevention of some akusala states that you don't have at the moment. You are so good. You are on the safer side, right? But just because you are good, Does it make sure that you will not be creating them? You may create them. That is why we have to put effort at this point. What kind of effort is that? Chandang janeti. Chandam means, you can see, desire. Desire. How do we understand that? Chandang. Is chanda a good thing or a bad thing? Now this is the problem of translation. Now some people translate kama, K long A-M-A, to be desire. Desire has an English context in philosophy, evolutionary philosophy, but here chanda means, we take it as desire. It's kind of a neutral term. Now in the Abhidhamma we have what you call couple of chetasikas which have chanda. Right? Chanda means just desire. Desire even to practice Dhamma. Right? Now this is about a good one. That means you create desire to prevent akusala states of the mind. You desire. You should have a desire for that. But it is not that karma desire. It is a wholesome, holistic desire at this point. Then Chandan janeti. Vāyāmati. This could be the verb of the Vāyāmo. Vāyāmati. Attempts. Tries. You should try, The trying has to go all night long, all day long. Not only when you are in the temple. Okay, now I'm good. I'm in the comfort zone. I have all the Kalyana Mittas all everywhere here. But when you go back from here, that is the real life. The true life. People you like, people you don't like, you have to deal with them, whether you like or not. Right? So in that life, we need to create this prevention of the akusalas, and then tries, attempts. Then viriyang arabhati. Now viriyang, here we see energy. Arabhati means instigates or activates. We're going to activate our virya. Now virya, do we have virya? Where is our virya when we don't have virya? Where is it? Is it something a miracle? Where is our virya when we are not energetic? Where does virya come from? Is it from an energy drink? Like a booster? Like a Red Bull? People drink Red Bull and then they so energetic. And some people, probably some sports people, they inject, right, some of the things. So where is virya? Huh? Mind is here. Mind is bodiless. There is no place for the mind. Durangamang ekacharang asarirang. Right? Mind is everywhere. You can't pinpoint. This is the mind, there is the mind, there is the mind. Mind is everywhere. All pervading. Right? So, virya, emotions and the mental states, you can't separate them out. Every mental state has emotions. And every emotion is accompanied by mental state. You can't separate them out. So what we understand here is that virya is a process where you activate. If you want, you're going to activate. If you don't want, you're not going to activate them. Let's say you are moody today in the morning. Does that mean you don't have virya? You might think, yes, there are external things that will make me into virya. The person that I'm seeing every day is not to see today. The food that I always have for my morning, they are not anymore with me today. Maybe I'm super broke today morning. And then maybe I don't get to see what I want to do, right? Does that mean virya is not within you? No, virya is there. Probably some of the external things that need you to be sort of uplifted in the morning, right? There are a lot of things. That means virya is existing, but you have to activate, instigates. Now at this point, for the prevention of the akusala states of mind, you are generating desire, tries, activates or instigates energy. And then, chittang pagganhati, exerts the mind. Another word for attempting, but it is particularly for the mind. Exerts the mind. Now, exerting the mind is not easy unless you have a sort of good understanding about the particular, maybe a good taste of that particular word. So you exert the mind, that particular thing. Not even that. Padahati. Padahati means strives. Padahati, strives. Now what you understand here is that if you want to practice Sammā Vāyāma, the first thing is, in short, in your layman language, prevention of akusala states of mind. I would say prevention. Now prevention means they are not with you now. Preventing of or preventing the inactive or non-existing akusala. It is better because you are very fortunate. Second, uppannānaṁ pāpakānaṁ akusalānaṁ. I'm not going to go over all the words now, because you already know. Now, let's say unfortunately, akusalas have arisen. Sadly. Let's say you are very angry. You want to criticize other people. You want to find fault other people a lot. You are mad and you are grumpy. You are irritated. Something has happened to you, unfortunately. So at that point, what you can still do something. What can you do? You generate desire, instigates or activate energy, try, exert the mind, strive, because now you need to remove them, neutralize them. They are always with me. Second type of Sammā Vāyāmo. Third, now we are going to the good side. Anuppannānaṁ kusalānaṁ dhammānaṁ uppādāya. That means in terms of kusala states of the mind, do you want to prevent them or do you want to create them? You want to create this inactive kusala state of mind. Now they are not with you. Let's say you get to know somebody who is way better than you in terms of managing anger, managing so and so forth, other things, frustration, sadness, grief, I would say all the other bunch of things that you really feel in your life. And then probably you are influenced by that Kalyana Mitra or somebody. And then you are thinking, let those good stuff arise in me. Those are inactive kusala states of mind. Then you are trying to create all that. Create desire, try, instigate or activate energy, exert the mind, strive, so that now all the non-existing kusalas are coming on your way. So good. Fourth one. Now you already have, let's say, uppannānaṁ kusala. Uppanna means already arisen. Now you already have a bunch of good stuff. You are patient and you are a generous person. You have sila and you have whatever, all this. You are truthful and all the good things. Maybe you may be having a sort of a moderate, lowlier level of your good stuff. You want to maintain, preserve, deepen them. Just because you have sila, just because you have patience, you can't take it for granted. Because anytime it can go away. You may run out of your patience. Some people come as Maras to check you, test your patience, and then you suddenly, boom, you are gone. You don't know what happened, but you are angry. You're checking, what happened to me? Right? So at that point, that means just because you have some level of good stuff, don't be satisfied. You've got to preserve, deepen, maintain, preserve all these kusala states of mind. In order for doing that, you're going to create desire for that. You're going to attempt, activate or instigate energy, exert the mind, strive. You are good. 2 for the akusala, 2 for the kusala. Prevention, removal, creating, prevention of akusala states, prevention of inactive akusala states, then removing of the active akusala states, then creating inactive kusala states, and then deepening, maintaining, preserving active kusala states. This is Sammā Vāyāmo in short. Now, I am going to say that this is kind of a gardening project. A good allegory or simile is that these 4 types of Sammā Vāyāmo is a good gardening project. How many of you like gardening? I hope that, like a nursery, when you go to nursery, you see how people garden, right? I think kind of a non-harming example. Everybody likes planting, preserving, watering, Sometimes you see your mind is getting focused by looking at a tree that you are watering every day. Let's see how a gardening project can go well with these 4 aspects. Okay, the first 2 are weeds. I probably zoom it for those who might not see it. Good. This should be good. Okay. The first 2 are weeds which you don't want in your garden. What are the weeds? Non-existing akusalas and existing akusalas. Let's say they are akusalas because they are weeds. We don't like our gardens having any weeds. They are bad. They are bad for the other trees, maybe the whole garden. The last 2 are about vegetables, flowers, fruits that we would like to have in whatever the good ways. As you can see, prevention, removal, then cultivation, preservation, watering, tending for optimal growth. So it's pretty clear. Now let's say you already, let me put into the proper wording. Let's say you already have, you don't have any weed yet. Your garden is very good. There's 0 weeding. But you need to do certain things so that weeds are not going to arise in your garden. What would you do? You might add certain, probably, I don't know, maybe chemicals, maybe organic things, fertilizer. Maybe you're going to have a good eye on your garden. Once there is a weed, you're going to uproot it. That prevention kind of thing. Second is removal. Now, unfortunately, weeds have come out. Maybe you haven't done enough for the garden. Then you have to, unfortunately, take them out. Maybe you're going to cut the grass, maybe use machines to take them out. Maybe if things are not under your control, you're going to call a company to take care of them. Removal. Cultivation. That means you feel that you want to grow some of the vegetables and then flowers, fruits. So you're going to bring new stuff into your garden. Now you have stuff, but you feel that they are not being watered properly. They are not getting exposed to sunlight. Probably there are people in your household are not really taking care of it. And then you are doing certain things to take care of your garden. Same way. Sammā Vāyāma. Alright. What is Sammā Vāyāma's role in the Noble Eightfold Path? What do you think? I already talked about it. Sammā Vāyāma is all pervading the whole path. Without Sammā Vāyāma, you can't do anything. Example, starting point, right view. Sammā Diṭṭhi is the starting point. If you don't have, let's say somebody teaches you, hey look, you have Micchā Diṭṭhi. You don't give dana, you are not believing in dana, you are not taking care of your mother, you are not taking care of your father, you don't believe in the karma and the fruits, karma phala vipaka, and you don't believe the spontaneous beings, upapatika satta, and you don't respect those ascetics, monks who have got into certain psychic powers through their direct practice of meditation, then somebody is teaching you, okay, I will think about it. Then you are slowly coming down to that understanding. Just because you understand those 10 mundane Sammā Diṭṭhi, does that guarantee that you can do it? No, you need some energy, right effort. Because without right effort, you are not able to do it at the right time. Because Sammā Diṭṭhi or any other noble path factor, they have to be practiced at all times. How do you practice at all times? You need energy. You need Sammā Vāyāma. Right? Now, in your daily life, you might sometimes say, yes, I do a certain good thing in my house, but today I'm not fit. I can't do it. It's a good thing, but you say, I'm not fit. Same thing. And you know it, but you can't do it. Something has troubled you. Which means this is all pervading, encompassing practice across the 8 noble path factors. Highly, highly important to understand the proper Sammādi, the beautiful effort, perfect effort, not beautiful energy, right? Right. What is Virya and its connection to the right effort? And I think I told you, Virya is a practice of managing your energy in terms of your spiritual practice. And then when you manage it properly, you are bringing that practice to certain important aspects of your spiritual practice. And then it becomes Sammā Vāyāma under the heading of these 4. Why Virya and why not Samadhi? Okay. Now, what does it mean? It means why it is given as Virya, why Virya is not always talking some pathways to Samadhi, because Virya has to be managed in a certain way to make it Sammā Vāyāma. Then you are building up enough energy to create Sammā Vāyāma practice so that you are entering the Sammā Samadhi after that. Is Virya a perfection? Paramita? Is it? Which paramita is that? Dānaṃ sīlaṃ nekhammaṃ paññā viriyena pañcamaṃ kanti saccam aditthānaṃ vitupakkhāti medas, which means one of the fundamental perfections. If you want to practice anything, it is important. So I think you understand that state. What is Ātāpi and its connection to the right? I think I already discussed about it. Ātāpi is a part of the mindfulness practice, which means it is under the Sammā Vāyāma. Alright, we come back to a very interesting part. Is there an effortless effort? Is it hard work? Is it extraordinarily demanding work? That means in Buddhism there is effortless effort. Now this is alluded to the understanding of Sammā Vāyāma not being tied with energy in your work life. It is different. It is not that energy that you are supposed to put into your work, because that is leading to your secular stuff. But this energy here, or Vāyāma here, means that you are only practicing it just to the extent of preventing removing of the akusala states of mind, and then creating and maintaining, deepening, preserving the kusala states of mind. So hardworking energy or Sammā Vāyāma, two different stuff. They are not connected, right? They are not anyways connected. Okay, before we jump onto this part, there's a story of a monk called Sona. I would like to bring up something interesting. Now, what happens to us when we practice Sammā Vāyāma? Now we practice, let's say we practice these 4. We're going to remove akusala states of mind, and then we're going to create, and then we're going to deepen our kusala states of mind. Then what will happen once we practice them? Our 5 hindrances are going to be withdrawn or subsided to a certain extent. That is very important. Which means pancha nivarana or pancha avarana, they are going to be subsided, or I would say withdrawn themselves, because we are practicing 4 types of Sammā Vāyāma. What are they? Kamacchanda, Vyapada, Tinamidda, Uddhacca Kukkucca, Vicikicca. Now you might have a certain understanding, oh, when they are withdrawn, maybe I am going to attain jhanas, right? This is what you know, right, already? That is another perspective. It is in the low dose. In the low dose of the practice of these 5, it will take you to the, what you call, Samadhi in a different way. But it says, when you practice these 4, your pancha nivarana will go down. I would say withdraw. Now normally you know that when you practice samatha bhavana, then only these 5 will be withdrawn. And then you are going on a bliss practice. Hindu practice normally, but it can be taken to Buddhist practice too, your starting point. So here, according to the Noble Eightfold Path, you are going to overcome 5 hindrances by practicing the Sammā Vāyāma. Then what will happen? Once your 5 hindrances are subsided, or I would say withdrawn, then there comes the arising of 7 Bojjhangas. Sati, Dhammavichaya, Viriya, Piti, Passaddhi, Samadhi, Upekka automatically arise in your state of mind. On one side you are withdrawing them, or you are diminishing them. That diminishment helps you to create 7 Bojjhangas. Now for those folks who might ask, somebody asked me a couple days ago, Bhante, the Bojjhangas, asked me about the Bojjhanga Suttas. Now their understanding was that Bojjhangas are only benefiting those enlightened arahants. Yeah. That is what we hear from the suttas. And they think that enlightenment factors are only for the enlightened folks, enlightened individuals. That is another side. But Bodhipakkhya Dhammas are the place where you understand that they are 37. One of them is 7 of them is 7 Bojjhangas. They are productive practices for somebody to attain Nibbana. That means you don't have to be an arahant to have these 7 in your state of mind. Once you withdraw these 5 by practicing, I would say diminish by practicing the Sammā Vāyāma, 7 Bojjhangas are automatically arising. Very interesting. Now we have to learn what they are, because when you practice Sammā Vāyāma, you should know what is happening to you. Pancha Nivarana. How do we understand these 5? Now Nivarana, Avarana means that there are 5 things, like nominal 5 or basic 5, that cloud our mind. It's like a kind of a colored spectrum that now you can't see through your naked eyes, especially the particular object. Now here we have a problem, kind of a misunderstanding. Now a lot of people think sense restraint. Now we need sense restraint to follow this, otherwise you are not able to diminish your 5 hindrances. I don't know how many of you understand these things through retreats. Through retreats you should have attained a certain level of this understanding. Now when you talk about sense restraint, we normally talk about take care of your eyes, take care of your ears, take care of your nose, take care of your tongue, take care of your body, take care of the mind. Is it possible? How do we take care of our eyes? It is not the eye, or it is not the object of the eye, but how are you going to invest your consciousness about those objects? It is vijnana. It is how you going to invest your consciousness in those particular objects. Let's say sight. Then we have one thing called chakku vijnana. How we going to invest our chakku vijnana on that particular object? That is how you're going to practice sense restraint. Eyes, pair of eyes are just a part of our body, right? Without consciousness you can't do anything, right? So it is very important here, because then there should have an effort to do that. That means when you understand certain objects, sights, sounds, then smell, taste, touch and thoughts, you know what you are supposed to do at that point. You want to de-glamorize this beautiful, ugly thing, because normally in society we are supposed to like or dislike everything. This is the social notion. Do you like or you don't like it? What about the third option? Like or dislike? Luckily social media does not give us a dislike button. Like, dislike, say like, love, whatever. So we have to go beyond these two, you know. We have to go beyond. On one side we're going to de-glamorize, on the other side we're going to look at how we see these beautiful ugly things. Can we just understand them rather than, you know, liking or disliking them in the first place? Many words to understand. It's like a love-hate relationship. You hate more than love every day. When the argument is brought up, You start hating so much. And in a moment of time, you are recovering back. Right? It's not a love relationship, it's a love-hate relationship. In the same way, likes, dislikes, beautiful, ugly stuff, we are society kind of drives us to, we are supposed to like or dislike. So this is a very good place to understand how we are going to bring our Sammā Vāyāma practice, or I would say Virya initially, into these likes and dislikes. So we have to bring lots of mindfulness, right? Lots of mindfulness. This might be against the social current, but we understand that we have to do something in that, right? So sense restraint is very important. Otherwise, if you don't put self restraint very much or accordingly, what will happen is that your mind is mounted upon unnecessary sensual objects. I would say now sensual objects in the sense of being greedy for them, actually. I think I discussed about it in one of our earlier days. We broke the karma into two aspects, kilesa karma and vattu karma. Initially we have kilesa karma. We like things, but we don't own them. But as time goes by, you own them. Now you have both kilesa karma and vattu karma. You have a full-fledged, blown version of karma at that point. But here what it means is that kama chanda means that you have what you call this greedy nature of the karma. It is not that chanda here, it is not that chanda. It is a different type of chanda. These are different contexts. So if you have a greedy nature of karma, that clouds your every part of your faculties in seeing the reality, right? Then through Sammā Vāyāma, you're going to get rid of that part. Then Kamacchanda Vyapada. Vyapada means ill will. We call it Vyapada, and we are supposed to have Avyapada. That means non-ill will. What is ill will? It is the opposite of goodwill, right? Is it? Yeah. Which means that you always think, I want to destroy somebody by reputation, by whatever the thing, you want to destroy somebody. This is the fundamental thought you are creating before you do something wrong to somebody, right? So it is kind of an intensification of your dosa, right? Because of dosa, you go to the ill will. So that means you have not been able to see the truth, see the reality at that point. So you have crossed the boundary of the truth, or maybe the ability to see the truth as it is, or as it comes to be. That is the second hindrance that clouds your mind in seeing the process of how they come to be or how they are. Because we normally take things as we are, not as they are. So that all the problems start giving us a big trouble. Third thing is tina and mitta, sloth and torpor. Laziness of your, in Abhidhamma it says, laziness of your mind and laziness of your mind and, I would say, chitta and chetasikas. Some translate this to be laziness of your body and the mind. Basically, chitta and chetasikas. So that is itself virya, lack of virya, lack of adequate virya. Do you see any examples across the canon where some individuals ran out of virya so that they were into a lot of problems? There were lots of examples, right? Lots of examples where people ran out of their virya. On one side spiritually, on the other side on secular context, right? So that means virya has to be properly managed. Otherwise, if you have high energy, you will destroy other people. If you have low energy, you will do some other bad things. Now, for example, kind of a very normal example, when you are hungry, you will argue a lot, right? Let's say you haven't taken your meals, Then there is a small thing, you are picking it up. You start arguing. It's a very small thing. Because there is something you need to eat at that point. Right? In the same way, if you don't have enough virya, you can't think about even that kusala practice. Right? It will spoil you. It will take you down. It will carry you over. Sloth and torpor, which means laziness of your mind, I would say thought, and then mental factors. They are interrelated. They say chittas cannot arise without chetasikas, chetasikas cannot arise without chittas. They work together, they start together, they take the same object, they perish away together. In Abhidhamma, it's true. I would say emotional part, or I would say the positive part of the mental state and the energy to create that thought. And then Tina Midyan, Uddhacha Kukkucha. These are hybrid akusala states, nivaranas. Uddhacha means restlessness. Our mind is always restless unless we bring the proper energy to that. But if you have a very restless mind, then what will happen? It will pick up everything. Right? Are we supposed to pick up everything that we see, we hear, we smell, we eat, we taste, we feel, we come up with as a thought? Are we supposed to pick up everything? Some people pick up everything like a factory of objects. Then it will become a misinformation factory. You are not supposed to take everything. For what? Even some dogs don't even look at what's happening, because they know this is not an important thing to respond. As humans, we are not supposed to pick up everything. We can choose. We can opt out. If you are picking up, that means you are creating lots of unnecessary issues. I mean, it is not sensory deprivation. It is not low sensory things. It is an understanding that I don't need to. In the same way, when people are talking, there are lots of things that you have to let go. You don't need to pick up. But there are people who think, oh, he said that, she said so, how come he said that? Every bit of information going to trouble them. The Buddha said, this is unnecessary. You don't have to pick up all that stuff. Letting go is as such. If you pick up everything, you can't feed them into your mind. Plus, it is unnecessary. Right? Unfortunately, not fortunately, the scientists have not yet found out a memory chip of our mental states. How much storage we can have, it depends. So, Uddhacha means restlessness. When you are restless, you are easily driven by akusalas. So, the point of issue. And then Kukkucha. Kukkucha means remorse, regret. Is it a part of Lobha, Dosa, Moha? Kukkucha, where does it start from? Kukkucha, remorse or regret? You have to go to Abhidhamma. You don't need to talk about Abhidhamma a lot now because it's an extra information. In Abhidhamma it says Kukkucha start from Dosa. It is a part of Dosa. It is a dosa-based akusala, because you are struggling to understand why you did it. I shouldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it. Shouldn't have, couldn't have, what if kind of stuff. I should not have talked to that person now, but I talked. I'm very worried about it. So you are arguing about why you did it. You are having a self-hatred towards you. So it's dosa kind of thing. So anyways, Kukkucha, it also clouds your mind. When you have that thought, if you cannot get it over, then it is taking you, dragging you to non-reality. Then, finally, Vichikiccha, doubts. As Buddhists, do we need doubts? Huh? Certain degree of doubts. What kind of degree is that? What kind of degree is that? Investigate. There is one particular Dhamma factor. Dhamma Vichaya. Investigation of Dhamma. There is a certain level of doubt. But it is not the doubt that kills our spiritual practice. Some people have doubts that kill their practice. Right? Some are irrelevant areas of things of the Dhamma. Buddha sometimes clearly denied answering some questions. Is the world infinite? Is the world not infinite? Will the Buddha rise again or not? Unnecessary. You are wasting time. 10 questions. He abandoned them. It is good because we all have precious time. We don't need to waste our time. Right? So, doubt is important just to the extent of investigating Dhamma. As a research, if you are an academic, yes, doubt is important because you are creating a doubt first and you hypothesize, then you do the research. You don't know where you're going to end up finally in the research. But you can't bring it to the practice. The practice itself is a different one. Doubts about the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, previous life, past life, future life, and then Paටිsamuppada and all that. These are doubts that can cloud your mind in seeing the reality. When you are able to fully manage these 5 and then going to get rid of them as much as possible, then your mind has a better chance of being mounted on the 7 Bojjhangas. What are the 7 Bojjhangas? Sati. Sati means what you call this full presence of your mind. But we call it mindfulness, which is a wrong translation, but we use it contemporary. Say full presence of your mind. Your mind is fully present. When you say mindful, it could be filling the mind, because there's another part of the sati practice called emptying the mind. Then where are you going to put that part? Sometimes you have to empty the mind, sometimes you have to fill the mind with good stuff. Right? So you can't take the mindfulness as a direct translation for that. But we use it because people know that, right? It's like Pali, you know. Pali is just a word of Magadhi language, but we use it Pali. Pali is a word which was used for the Tipitaka in particular. The proper word is Magadhi, but people don't use Magadhi, right? So in the same way we take sati as mindful, but if you are very concerned about it, it is not mindfulness. It's full presence of your mind. Then what happens when you are able to get rid of these 5 through the support of the 4 Sammā Vāyāmos, then what will happen is that you are able to create sati, good sati. And then Dhamma Vichaya. Dhamma Vichaya means investigation of Dhamma. What is that? What is that Dhamma? What is that Dhamma? Does Dhamma mean only one thing, or it is a it's a multifaceted term in the text? It is a multifaceted term in terms of the meaning. Now, I think I actually explained to you one day, right? D capital means doctrine, philosophy, teaching, and then D simple is lowercase means phenomena, right? And then there are many other meanings of the Dhamma. So here it means investigating your own mental states, right? You are investigating them. So that means when you mounting, when you are naturally mounted with the 7 Bojjhangas, because as a result of practicing Sammā Vāyāmos, thereby you are going into withdrawing yourself or diminishing yourself from the Pancha Nivaranas, Dhamma Vichaya arises. Then you are going to investigate your own Dhammas. Own Dhammas means your mental states, right? Dhamma Vichaya. It doesn't mean that you explore the teachings. You are exploring your own states of mind. Why? Rupa, Saddha, Gandha, Rasa, Pottabha, Dhamma. Dhamma means your thoughts or mental states. So, it is arising naturally. Sati Dhamma Vichaya. Viriya, energy. Proper energy is arising. Not that crazy energy that you may have at different times. Today I want to do this and that. Not that one. You are coming up with proper energy to prevent, remove akusalas, and then to deepen, maintain, and create kusalas. That kind of virya. They are arising naturally. They are naturally arising. Then you know what to do. You know how to manage your virya at that point. Then virya. Sati Dhammavichya Viriya. Then Piti, joy. You are coming up with a certain spiritual type of a joy. Is joy important to us? Yes, joy is important to us. But when you practice the jhanas on the other side of the practice of Pancha Nivarana, you will understand joy is also a problem to you at a certain point of your jhana practice. Then you will come to a certain point, joy will be diminished in the jhana practice. You will only come to the upekka at that point. So then you will, at this point, another piti bojjhanga, there comes what you call joy, spiritual joy. But that joy is also very well managed joy, well managed. That joy does not give you a hard time. Some joys are giving us a very hard time. We don't sleep very much. We are staying up the whole night. Those are crazy ones. Right? When you achieved something which is very rare, you don't sleep that whole day. You don't eat that whole day. Why is it? Overjoy. Something wrong with that. You can't sleep at that night. Right? And when your loved ones are doing well, you are crying at that point. Happy tears. Right? Same thing will happen to you. I mean, I'm not saying they are bad. I'm saying it is not the joy that we are talking here. The joy just to the extent of the kusala practice. Maybe the success of that kusala practice. Then, virya piti. Passaddi. Passaddi means? Passaddi means? Tranquility. That you are serene at that point. This is a very good level of your tranquility, serenity. It is beyond samadhi thing that you hear in the what you call samatha practice. Because this is bojjhangas. The samatha practice takes you to the jhanas. Jhanas come and go. But the bodhi will not come and go. Once you go there, it is bodhi. So it is very interesting. So when you, when you say, now people translate tranquility meditation, serenity meditation, calm samatha meditation. But that is kind of a temporary level of tranquility, or I would say calmness. The real tranquility comes as a result of consequence of the Sammā Vāyāma practice, because there is passaddi. Right? Then finally, you are getting up to the higher state of mind, higher state of thoughts in Buddhism. What is it? Upekka. Upekka means that you are creating a high, I would say, the highest level of mind. The highest level of mind is you are not moved by happiness, no unhappiness. Your mind is mounted on a very, I would say, well-balanced state. When your mind is mounted on that well-balanced state, position on that well-balanced state of mind, nobody can put you down. Nobody can put you up. Right? You are there. You are not separately happier about something. You are not separately unhappy about something. You are you. You understand who you are. Upekka is the one that is promoted everywhere. Even in the practice of paramita, even in the practice of Chatubrahma Vihara, anywhere. Upekka. So now these 7 start arising as a result of practicing 4 Vāyāmas, 4, I would say, right efforts. Thereby you are diminishing the 5 nivaranas, avaranas, and then these 7 are coming up. That is Sammā Vāyāma, and that will take you to the most important aspect coming up next week. Sammā Sati is a very lengthy one actually. The whole practice will be a very big lesson. Now I'm going to show you a good example of this energy issue, normal energy issue. I'm quoting a sutta called Anguttara Nikāya 6.55. We call Sona Sutta. When Venerable Sona thinks of disrobing, want to be an ex-monk, the Buddha comes and encourages him with the famous simile of the lute that is tuned neither too loose nor too tight. Let's see that. I see a very good project somebody done at Buddhist Society in Kajang. Actually, I took a video of that. Interesting video. They actually brought 3 guitars. They don't have the lute. And they made it, one is too slack, one is too tight, the other one is perfect. So you just have to tune it. You see how it works. So the same is given here. Let's see the sutta. Now Sona, monk Sona, he was a good musician before he became a monk. He's a good musician. You know, musicians are very sensitive to the sounds. Even a small sound, they are very disturbed. Right? Because they are working with the sound. Now he is going to become a lay person. Not happy about the monkhood, maybe something has stagnated him. Buddha asked, why do you think, Sona, when you were still a layman, weren't you a good harp player? Yes, sir, he says. When your lutes, I would say harp strings, were tuned too tight, was it resonant and playable? No, sir. Now, too tight, it won't give you the expected sound. When your harps or lutes strings were tuned too slack, too loose, was it resonant and playable? No, sir. He replies to Buddha. But when your harp strings or lute strings were tuned neither too tight nor too slack, but fixed at an even tension, was it resonant and playable? Yes, sir. Perfect balance. In the same way, Sona, when energy is too forceful, high energy, it leads to restlessness, which means it leads to uddacha. Now you can understand how does your energy become restless? Because too much energy. When energy is too slack, too loose, it leads to laziness. So Sona, you should apply yourself to energy and serenity. Find a balance of the faculties. What are they? Saddha, Viriya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. You should have a perfect balance of these 5. Why don't I pick up Chakku Sota Gana Jivha Kaya Mana? They are physical faculties. When you are practicing spiritual things, you have to have a perfect balance out of the 5 spiritual faculties. We call them Saddha, Viriya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. These 5 are extraordinary. Those 5, everybody has those 5. Everybody has piece of eyes. Everybody has piece of ears. Everybody has nose, tongue, body, mind. But not everybody has Saddha. Not everybody has Sati. Not everybody has Viriya. Not everybody has Samadhi. Not everybody has, maybe hardly anybody has Panya. Then you should find a perfect balance out of these 5. Then what happens? Yes, sir, he replied. After some time, Sona applied himself to energy and serenity, found a balance of the faculties, Saddha, Viriya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya, and learned the pattern of this situation. This means this is kind of a pattern. Then Sona soon realized the supreme culmination of the spiritual path in this very life. The advice. So in your cultivation practice, whatever your, especially the Noble Eightfold Path practice, especially when you want to practice the Noble Eightfold Path, you should not be overly effortful or overly lazy. So those 2 ends must be avoided. It's a very good advice to all of us, because if you give lots of energy to something, right, or if you give lack of energy, things are going on a slippery slope, right? It's like that. So high energy could be a problem, right? It's like that you are doing unnecessary things too. Let's say you owning a building, maybe you given to a hospital, and there are doctors now, surgeons. They are doing a couple of surgeries every day, but you are the owner. But you think that, okay, today we're going to do 10 surgeries. You don't consult surgeons. Today we're going to make a big surgery place, right? Just because you own it. You can't do that. You have to go by the consulting people, the people who know the business, who know the thing. So over energy can really take us to a very bad end. Be that studies, be that your family life, even your plans. Some people are planning a lot, so much energy. Sometimes they are not necessary now. You need time for that. Right? Someone might think, tonight I'm going to be a Sotapanna. And then start a YouTube channel. Tonight I became a Sotapanna. Yeah? Too rushing. Right? So that means we should take some time understanding our purpose. Right? Maybe our secular purpose, maybe our non-secular purposes. Thereby we know how to manage, how to position, how to properly manage our virya, and then the whole effort practice. All right, any questions before I probably summarize again? Any questions about Sammā Vāyāma today? That mic should work, huh? Does it work? Maybe there's a button to press. Green color one. Yeah, it works. Yes, finally.
Bhante, what about fear? Fear is not in the nirvana, but fear is still disturbs the mind. So it's not. Why is it not in the nirvana?
Yeah, fear. Yes, if you look at Kamacchanda, Vyapada, Thinamiddha, Uddhacca, Kukkucca, Vicikicca, you see that people are getting into these 5 as a consequence of fear too. Because people are greedy for other people because of insecurity. Maybe things. People might be angry, practice aversion because of fear of losing stuff. Maybe they want to keep stuff. Fear is kind of an overall emotion, overall state of mind that can include all these akusalas, all these nivaranas, but not necessarily taken as a particular thing. Because Buddhism, Buddha maintains 2 ideas about fear. One is we need fear to get out of the samsara bhaya. On the other hand, he is talking about fearless state. At the end of the Mangala Sutta also he mentions that kema, right? What does he say? He says kema appati bhayana. I use another word. That means fearless state. That means you are not, let's say you attain nibbana one day, so you are entering into the fearless state. But till that we need a certain level of fear to cross the samsara. But in between, in our normal life, daily life, we may come up with fears. Fear about dying, fear about getting sick, fear about losing things, insecurities. For them, even though they are not directly given in the Pancha Nivarana have this overall fear aspect, because we are falling prey to the 5 Nivaranas because of fear. Yes, but 5 aspects have been taken just as big distractions to see the reality. Because when those 5 come up, then you can't see the reality. But those 5 come up as a consequence of fear. It is implied. The proper word, it is implied. Fear is implied. I mean, the fear that is going through between our birth, I would say, samsara bhaya up until the Nibbana. Yeah. You can raise your hand so somebody can give the mic if you have a question.
Bhante, I just need a guidance. I don't know whether I'm doing the right thing, especially of late. Whenever I hear certain especially politicians, speak about things that is trying to instigate harmony, I get very upset and I get very uptight. And sometimes inside me, I feel that why are you still around? Well, it's better that you are gone and dead. I know it's ill will. I know it is not right. And I have this consciousness, no, I can't do that. I got to send metta to them. But then there's still the anger inside. So I know, am I doing the right thing?
Political consciousness is I would think it's a responsibility of a citizen, just as you are supposed to vote, right? Voting is a responsibility of every citizen of that particular country. But just because certain, maybe most politicians have deluded and corrupted the whole public perception, we as individual, as Buddhist, practicing Buddhist, you see, doctors, there are doctors who are not practicing, practicing Buddhist. We are not supposed to create ill will. We may find other solutions to respond to that particular issue, particular matter. Yeah, so I think we have to take it a little differently than we naturally drawn to, because everybody has it, not even you. If you ask from anybody who doesn't like politics, they have a huge anger, animosity to these people. So are we letting us be drawn by that normal perception, just like anybody else? Are we going to be a little bit awakened as Buddhists in looking at this juncture, this intersection of the problem? Probably we have to cultivate something about it, and then to come up with a positive, awakened response to this thing. I think that would be better, because you can't change by yourself this whole system, right?
Yeah.
You will never. Maybe not the next 10 years. Let's have a hope. At the same time, let's not create akusalas just because of people who we cannot have any power on, we can have any control over. But let's have our own positive thoughts. Maybe we can do other things rather than just being into ill will. We can maybe promote good stuff. You can be vocal in a better way, not to attack anybody, right? Create some holistic ideas to better the country.
Yeah.
Because just because being angry will only kill you,
that
will never help anybody.
Yes. As I mentioned, I know that anger or that ill will or that ill thought on that person is definitely not right.
Yeah.
It is not wholesome. I'm fully aware. But there is still that. So my question is, because I'm aware that I shouldn't be having those ill thoughts. Am I putting in the right effort in my practice or cultivation?
I didn't hear the last part.
I'm fully aware that those ill thought, ill will, it is not wholesome.
Yeah.
I'm consciously aware. So am I so-called on the right path of cultivation?
I don't think so.
No. Okay. So
I don't think so.
I need your guidance.
That is virtually on the surface level a problem, that kind of thinking. You don't have to think that thing, because it depends. Let's say somebody who is senior in this country, maybe any other country, they have been seeing all the politicians, how they work for many decades. So you know the pain sometimes. They are not doing enough, right? So I think the best thing is to create a positive response to this thing, rather just get drawn out by those kind of thinking. Maybe if you wish somebody's death, that is such a failure in your practice. It's a failure for whatever the reason, right? It's kind of a love-hate relationship, love, like, and then dislike. I think better to think about a better way to change the system. Maybe to encourage others in a non-harming way, not to ooze them, not to instigate them. They might catch you. In a better way to create a holistic platform, because wishing anybody's thing is not encouraged. I think it is a discouraged thing in our practice. That means politicians have they have stopped our practice. If you let them play that kind of a thing. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, this could be not your issue. I mean, many might have out there. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, Bhante. Just now Bhante said the Dhammacharya is investigate the mental state. In Satipatthana, we have body, feeling, mind, and Dhamma also. So I actually heard two versions of that. Some say is investigate the mental state, some say is investigate the teaching. Which one is correct?
Well, Satipatthana Sutta's Dhammanupassana is mindfulness based on watching Dhamma properties. They are Dhamma. You see the Pancha Nivarana, Arya Satya, Four Noble Truths. They all are Dhamma. They are Dhamma categories. They are Dhamma. Because I shared with you, Dhamma has lots of meanings. Right? So here, investigating Dhamma means here your mental states. I mean, they are connected to those things too. Because when you check your mental state, you see that they are, whether they are with Pancha Nivarana or whether they are with Satta Bodhjangas, or whether they are drawn to Four Noble Truths, or they are drawn into other things. So basically it says investigating Dhamma. Dhamma in that context means mental states. Satipatthana, no. Satipatthana means you are going to be mindful looking at those Dhamma properties, Dhamma teachings. And then you check in whether you have those in you or not. So two contexts.
It's referring to the teaching, not the mental state.
Teaching in the sense of different Dhamma categories.
Yeah.
Dhammanupassana. Yeah.
Because some teachers will explain it as investigating on the mental state.
Yeah. Now you are checking the mental states.
So I was confused which one is actually correct, whether it's a teaching or it's a mental
It is not the teaching here. It is investigating your own Dhamma, your mental states.
No, I mean in the Satipatthana.
Satipatthana Sutta Dhammanupassana. It is Dhamma properties, Dhamma teachings.
It's a teaching.
Actually, there what it says is that do I have Kamachanda or not? How did my Kamachanda arise? How is the cessation of my Kamachanda? What can I do to cease that Kamachanda? That means you are checking your Dhammas with the Dhamma properties. It's a kind of a self-check-in process with the Dhamma. But here simply means you are checking your mental states. Finally, you are understanding those mental properties too, Dhamma properties too. Basically, you are checking your mental states with the Dhamma properties. And then you becoming mindful. Make sense? Not yet?
So, it's convincing, but why there are teachers who can say that Satipatthana is actually referring to the mental state?
Why are you not reading the text? Why are you basing on different teachers?
That's why I came across.
This is the problem. I think I
came across two versions. Some
let anybody tell whatever they want to say.
So that's why I want to
people
have
who come here,
confirmation.
I always encourage you to read suttas in your own way, reading. Without reading, don't go and listen to talks. That is not good. Then you have a background, then you are working with that background. You are getting the help, more help from the Dhamma teachers. Without reading, you go to a couple of talks, somebody says this, and you're getting confused. So I always tell people, read Satipatthana Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya Satipatthana, understand what it is. Then go to a talk about Satipatthana. We don't need to blame anybody. We don't need to pick up anybody. Because we can't make the Sangha, right? You can't control the Sangha. You can't change the Sangha. Sangha is Sangha. They are differently talking. And I think it's not necessary. You read first and then go to listen to a talk. Otherwise, you are only depending on... At that time, you did that. Last 30 years, you did that because you didn't have suttas at that time. Only you have to approach a monk Ask him over. But now you have everything at a fingerprint, right? You can read everything. You have all the gears. So why don't you read it? And then you will understand it. Dhammanupassana is this. I encourage a book written by one of the famous scholars. I think it's not very much scholarly. It's scholarly. I mean, you can read that. Bhikkhu Analayo. Bhikkhu Analayo's book is very good. I probably think you can find it. Analayo books. This book. Yeah, it is here as a PDF too. Satipatthana direct no, this is, let me see. I think this is a PDF of that book. All right. I think this computer has a problem with opening PDF, but this is the book actually. Satipatthana, yes, Satipatthana, the direct path to realization. It's a very good book, very scholarly person. Some time ago I reviewed one of his books to the Buddhist Studies Review in UK. So it's well done. You don't have to read the whole book, but you see the Dhammanupassana very well in this book. Yeah, that is the thing. Don't worry. These are small things, but we can understand what to do. Don't blame anybody. Read first, then you have a certain good understanding about certain things, then only get benefited from somebody, layperson or monk. Yes. You want to get the mic? Better. You. Yeah.
So before you can reach enlightenment, you can say you have written. It's better to see with your eyes than to hear 10,000 people talking about it.
No, here the biggest problem to somebody, not even to you, is that when you hear the same subject from many people, you don't know what is true or what is untrue. But what is the easiest thing? You have all the gears there, why don't you read it? And then have a certain knowledge, maybe not a perfect one. Have a certain knowledge, then you can study more from others. But when you have zero knowledge and you just based on a monk, I don't think that's dangerous. That's pretty dangerous. That's why I'm saying that before you go to a certain place, a Dhamma talk, retreat, you should have read a certain level of whatever the thing that you are interested in, especially Satipatthana, because this is the most important thing. All right, any more questions? Almost 10. A very good question that is really relevant to everybody. Now we can practice Satipatthana well with the sounds, not getting carried away by the sound, not creating any animosity, no aversion. Yes. Yes, sister. Yes.
Bhante, I've got two questions. Vichikiccha. Doubts. And then you also mentioned about things that we should believe without doubts, including Dhamma, right? What if, when it comes to Four Noble Truths, I believe in the Four Noble Truths, but I don't believe in the origin of the story. For example, the four people whom Buddha met. So is that a Vichikiccha?
I didn't hear that part very well. Last part?
I believe in, for example, Four Noble Truths. So if I believe in Four Noble Truths, but I do not believe the origin of the story about Buddha meeting the four people.
I do not believe.
The story. I'm not sure about the story about him meeting the sick people, a dead body.
Okay. For science.
Yeah, the false signs.
Okay, so you don't believe that?
I mean, I'm not sure whether
Okay.
that really happened because I'm thinking.
We're not sure too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that
So we're in the
answers
same
it.
boat.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I got the answer.
You got the answer, right? Yeah, see. Yes.
The second one
So
is.
we only learn them, huh? So bringing to our sure level is a different level. That is why we are studying. Yeah.
Yes, but if I were to read sutta on my own, the goal would be to understand and not to know, not to believe word by word, to gain an understanding from own perspective, right? Is that what you were saying
The
just now?
goal of our spiritual journey
I
is
mean, when
mere
I
to
read-
understand.
When I just now, the brother mentioned about the differences from monks' point of view, and you suggested that one should read a sutta.
Try.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good approach. Mhm.
Yes, but I read for understanding and not to believe everything word by word. It's not the translation word by word. It's not the literary translation in my mind, but trying to grasp the core content of the sutta, right?
Well, I mean, even when you go to read, I would say read under a teacher.
Okay.
Sometimes lay people cannot understand the context, especially you will read the translation, right? So rather we will find a good translation. I think it is also still a problematic journey because some people have translated, because all these translators are from Western backgrounds. They have no, I would say, yeah, that I wouldn't say Pali. It's not about the Pali, the context. Because there are literal translations and contextual translations. So, for the safer side, what I say is that good to start with reading under a certain teacher who you can think. But still, when you are, as you read, you may still come up with some of the questions. It is natural. It is not because of the Dhamma's problem. It may be your problem too. It may be the problem of the context too. It may be the problem of the teacher too. There are a lot of things involved with that. That's why this is a process of learning, questioning from the teacher, maybe going into other sources, doing I would say, cross text check. We have to do a lot of things until we fully understand, feel that this is something that will really workable, understandable.
Okay.
Just by looking at a certain thing, we cannot say this is. Now remember Kalama Sutta. I think we will stop at there because of the time. In the Kalama Sutta, what happens is that Kalamas told the Buddha, now people misunderstand this whole context. They said, Bhante, different ascetics come to our Kesa Buddha. Everybody says whatever we say is the truth. Something relevant here, right? They say this is the truth. But we don't know how to cross-check that. Are you going to say the same thing? He said, no. What I'm going to say is that, and he said a certain stuff, I would say, do not believe by this and that, by tradition and all that. And then he said, ime dhamma kusala, ime dhamma kusala, attanava janeyata. These are unwholesome, these are wholesome, then you should know by yourself. But a lot of people misunderstand something here. Do not go by tradition. Is tradition a bad source? I don't think so. It can be, but it is not always. Now we have a Buddhist tradition. We can blame all night, all along. But there are certain good things too. Do not go by the Pitakas, scriptures. Our Pitakas are always bad. Maybe, to a certain extent, but they are still valuable sources. Do not go by a very famous teacher. He said, Ma Samano Garuti. But aren't there anything that we can learn from a teacher? Anybody? Any teacher? Maybe a new monk, experienced monk, Dhamma speaker? No, there are something we can learn from anybody. But the Buddha said, never ever limit your epistemology. process of learning to one aspect of the sutta. But what have people taken? All these are bad ways of learning. I think the way I want. That is how people take Kalama Sutta. We should not believe by text, we should not believe by the tradition. It is not what it says. It says all these are valuable sources, but do not limit your learning, Dhamma or whatever, only to one aspect, one learning source. That is very important to understand. If you want more information, I did an interview with a professor in Sri Lanka, P.D. Premaseri. It's about epistemology and about this Kalama Sutta. He beautifully explains this issue. I mean, the idea is that we should not limit our Dhamma journey, especially finding sources only from one particular thing. Actually, what people have been doing, when they think that they like one certain type of books, they only focus on that particular type of books. They forget about all the other sources, tradition, good valuable people, tradition, right? So we have to understand that way. Then your Dhamma practice will be a very full-fledged, very practical Dhamma journey. Most people's Dhamma practice is very hard, very, very difficult, very struggling practice. Because they have taken all these things unnecessarily and then trying to practice everything at the same time. Then going to have a jam. Yes, applause. All right, so let's transfer all the good karmas now. Today you've been learning about Sammā Vāyāma, which means right effort. You learn right effort is not simple energy. It is the effort that you practice just to the extent of preventing akusalas, removing akusalas, creating kusalas, and then deepening kusalas. Thereby you create 7 bojjhangas, and then you are diminishing 5 hindrances. And this is Sammā Vāyāma, which leads to Sammā Sati, which will be discussed next week. May all the good karmas which we've been accumulating in all these ways be transferred to all the departed ones who passed away in the name of all of us. If they were reborn in a place of pain, may they be able to release from that painful realm. If they were reborn in a place of comfort, happiness, may they be able to improve that life and finally attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Idammi ñāti nang hotu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Idammi Sukhita huntu ñātayo. Idammi ñāti nang hotu sukhita huntu ñātayo. May Devanaga Mahitika share all these good karmas. May they be well and happy. May they protect and bless all of you for good health, quality of life, prosperity, safety. May Devanaga Mahitika also finally attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ettavatacha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavatacha ammehi sambatang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavatacha Sambatang punya sampadang sabbi satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Akasattha ca bhummattha divānaga punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkang tuluka sasanang. Akasattha ca devānaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkang tudesanang. Akasattha ca bhummattha divānaga punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkang tumang paranti. Chirang rakkang tutwang sadati. In this sansaric journey, may we be able to be in the company of the Kalyana Mittas, noble friends, and not with the Papa Mittas who draw us or pull us out from the Dhamma journey. Thinking thus, we are going to make a wish. Imina punya kammena mami bala samagamu satang samagamu hotu yava nibbana patya. Finally, May all the good karmas which we've been accumulating today throughout the time be supportive and helpful for all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Abhivadana silissa niccang baddha pachāyino Chattaru dhamma vaddhanti ayuvannu sukhang balang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti me vacha atu nibbana sampatti iminati saminjatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And the discussion is over at this point, and wishing you a good night, and see you next Monday for Sammā Sati. Good night, everybody.